All right, because we want to create a reusable animation, I'm going to define it in this animations module. So I'm going to export a variable called slide. Here we call the trigger function, give it a name, and this is the implementation. Now here we need to define the transitions. So here's the first transition. When this element enters the view, these are the steps that I want to be executed. Now here, initially, I want to shift the element 10 pixels to the left. So because I want to apply styles immediately, I call the style function. Here I use the transform property and set this to translate x minus 10 pixels. So initially I move these 10 pixels to the left, and then I want this to be animated over, let's say, 2000 milliseconds to the right side. Now, as I told you before, here we don't need to set the target position, because when we have an animate function with only a timing value without any styles, Angular is going to undo the previous styles applied to that element. So it's going to undo this 10 pixels to the left. Okay. Now let's go back to our component and use this slide animation. So here I'm going to replace fade with slide. We should also go to our template and change fade to slide. Now back in the browser, refresh. So you can see the items are sliding from the left side of the screen. One more time. Now it's a little bit slow and that makes it a bit boring. So let's change the timing. Back here, I'm going to change this to 500 milliseconds. Back in the browser, refresh. That's a little bit better. Now let's implement the next transition when an element leaves the view. So here I'm going to define another transition for the leave scenario. And here's the implementation. So at this point, I want to shift the element to the left side of the screen, but I want this to happen over a period of time. So I'm going to call the animate function. Let's give it 500 milliseconds. And here we should call the style function. Use the transform property and set it to translate x. And as the value, I'm going to use minus 100%. This will make the element go completely outside the screen. Let's test this. Back in the browser. So click. That's it. Beautiful. Now to get rid of this blue border, we can set the outline property to 0. So let's go to todo.css. Here, each of our items is a button. So button, and here we set the outline property to 0. Then you won't see that blue border that Chrome renders. So one more time, click. That's better.